Great to be in a room full of people committed to working with young people. And I've been working with teens, substance abusing teens, since 1985 in both outpatient and residential settings. We're outpatient now. And I was going to talk some about when I go and talk to schools, middle schools, high schools, and to parents, some of the information that I talk about. And so I want to talk about teens' drive to explore, some about adolescent brain development, increased risk for substance abuse, and one message that I try to give to teens around drugs and alcohol. So I'm going to try using this. So we're wired to move from home to the world. And that's what's going on during adolescence. And this creates opportunity and danger. And so the neurological basis for this exploration is that teens often need more stimulating activities to get the same kick as adults get. And so, and dopamine increases with high risk in the nucleus accumbens, which is our little pleasure center of the brain. Oops, didn't want to jump to that yet. So, this part of the brain in particular is what makes us feel reward, makes us feel pleasure. And not that it's that important, but dopamine is a neurochemical that's communicating in that part of the brain. And for teens, that'll get more stimulated when there's high risk, high reward. And so they did a really cool study where they were measuring the activity of this nucleus accumbens, the pleasure center, and they had 3 games: easy, medium, and hard, and then you got a reward, low, medium, higher, depending on which game you won. And so they tested adults with this experiment. And how do you think their nucleus accumbens, their pleasure center, reacted to winning the easy reward, winning the medium reward, getting the high reward? It was proportional to the level of the reward. Little things felt a little bit of pleasure on up. And then they tested children, preteens. How do you think their nucleus accumbens, their pleasure center? Theirs lit up no matter what. We've all seen this, right? You know, it's like they love playing the game and they don't really care whether they get a penny, a nickel, or a quarter. And then they tested teens. And how do you think their nucleus accumbens responded to this research, this test? It went from all or nothing. So they got high reward, or a lot of pleasure with winning the tough game, and for the other ones, bored. And we see it all the time with teens. It's like, I love it, I'm bored. Now what? And sometimes parents will struggle, or teachers too, but I'm mostly talking to parents, and look at this, look at my 15-year-old, look and share this beautiful sunset with me. And they're like, whatever. And if they were neuroscientists, they would probably say, you look, Mom, look, Dad, I don't have enough dopamine in my nucleus accumbens to really appreciate this. And maybe by 25, 26, when the brain is fully developed, they may then enjoy that sunset because they have enough ability to more enjoy those the little pleasures of life. So some of the thinking of the evolutionary basis for this is that the teens were the explorers for the tribe. They were the ones who were bored, and they climbed over that ridge, and they found in the next valley some berries to pick or some animals to hunt. And then they were bored again, so they hiked over the next ridge, and they found a tribe to have sex with, to broaden the gene pool. So we're driven, or this age is driven to explore. And really you get an adaptive edge. The more you seek newness, novelty, and take risks, the better you do, in general. So now this drive to take risks, to explore, it's one way that makes teens much more susceptible to becoming addicted and engage in other high-risk behaviors. There's 3 main phases of growth. The first phase being in utero to about a year before puberty, and that's developing potential. The next stage is about a year before puberty to 19-ish, is developing abilities, and then becoming consistent and efficient, and generally female brains are finished about 23, and slow men 25, 26. Now, during childhood, the brain is putting out huge amounts, these neurons are putting out huge amounts of connections to other neurons. It's all about possibility. Each neuron can put out to 50,000 possible connections to other brain cells, other neurons. And so the child's brain is super primed to learn. And then, about a year before the onset of puberty, it switches to this more battle for survival, where there's all these connections, but it's not efficient. There's too much possibility in the brain. And so the pathways that aren't used, the connections that aren't used, they slowly get pruned, they get cut away, and the brain gets more and more shaped. It operates on this principle of use it or lose it. And one of the researchers, one of the main researchers in this field, a quote of his, is you're hardwiring your brain in adolescence. Do you want to hardwire it for sports and playing music and doing math, or for lying on the couch in front of the TV, or to be a drug addict or an alcoholic? This is the time of life when the person really starts to burn in who and what they're going to become, who and what they are. And that can be for better or for worse. Another way he described it is that you come into adolescence and your brain is like an unsculpted piece of marble. And through this period of the teen years, it's like the sculptor. And so those connections are starting to disappear that aren't being used, and the ones that are getting stronger and stronger. And so that hopefully, by the time someone emerges into adulthood, they've developed their brain to its full potential, and you know, can go on from there. Now, sometimes when I give this talk, there's, you know, the stoners, when I talk about this is what they see. Then usually it's dude. So you don't use it. You lose it to the degree that the person isn't whatever dancing like he was saying. Those connections start to disappear. Dancing gets more and more difficult, and so you have less of those connections, and they're less efficient. And if someone goes through childhood, adolescence, underusing their brain too much, they emerge into adulthood with Homer Simpson's brain. If they, oh, and by the way, starting smoking marijuana before age 16 or 17, those teens have measurably smaller brains. Now, if you do go through adolescence and don't have any brain trauma or use drugs or alcohol, you use it, you develop your full potential, and that's Einstein's brain. So during the growth of begins roughly at the back of the brain and moves to the front, and I think one of the two last videos talked about this, and blue and purple is the more developed. And so one of the last parts of the brain to develop is the frontal lobes, our so-called chief executive, and fully developed frontal lobes equals grown up. And the neurologist video, she talked about executive functioning. So one of the last parts of the brain to develop is right behind our eyes, and that's the stop part of the brain. It's the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. I only say that because I could remember it, and I was hoping it would impress you. So one of the last parts to stop is this, to develop is this stop part, the impulse control, the brain's police. That part of the brain we need to say, stop, wait a second, think it through. And yet, and so, as we all know, teens are famous for, you know, what were you thinking? And sometimes when they say, I don't know, or I wasn't, they're being accurate. They're just being the lower pathways, and the stop part of the brain wasn't able to say stop, so that the upper cortex, which does literally move slower, had time to say, wait a second, I'll get in trouble if I do that. So that's what creates this huge danger and opportunity during this time of life, and gives that possibility of underachieving and heading into the adult life with some disabilities, or going into the adult life with a lot ready to build on that potential. So now, in our culture, many children taste beer or wine. They go up to their mom or dad, they say they're drinking, and they say, "Mommy, Daddy, can I have a taste?" And they take a sip. So this is talking about more than a sip, but it's not necessarily a whole drink. In other words, they sipped it, and maybe when Mommy and Daddy weren't looking, they took a few more. So if someone who's had a drink of alcohol at 13 years or younger, 47% of those people become alcoholic in their lifetime. If they don't have a drink of alcohol till they're 21 or older, 9% of those people become alcoholic. The brain is super primed to learn, and again, it can learn for good or for bad. This is showing the same thing for drug addiction, and that's drug abuse. Over 90% of adults with current substance use disorders started using before 18, and half of those began before 15. So, I mean, you folks are great prevention resources, because the more activities they're able to do, Another study, teens who smoke marijuana more than 100 times. So we were talking maybe getting stoned Friday or Saturday night in their, freshman and sophomore year, junior year. So that would make 100 times. 5.8 times more likely to drop out of school, 3.3 times less likely to go to college, and 4.5 times less likely to earn a college degree. So, a lot of people, as you know, if you're working with teens and middle school students, a lot of them say, "I only smoke on the weekends." Well, it can have some major impact. This is another study done with Northern California high school and Oregon high school students. And again, as we know, college isn't the only measure of success, but it's one that can be used. And so the group A, as seniors, they did not smoke marijuana or use other drugs, and they possibly drank some, and 28% of them graduated college by the time they were 23. B, they smoked marijuana they smoked less than 10 times during their senior year, and they never used more than 2 times in any given month, and 14% of them graduated college by the time they were 23. C, they smoked marijuana 3 or more times in their senior year during a month, and used at least one other drug during their life, ecstasy or something. And 8% of them graduated college by the time they're 23. And the D is that they did not smoke marijuana or use other drugs or smoke cigarettes in their life, and they did not drink during their senior year, and 31% of them graduated by the time they were 23. So the message that I try to give to teens is, how are you going to train your brain? How are you going to develop your brain? You have the choice. You can go for the quick, easy high, drugs, alcohol, danger. You'll probably have fun. You'll get the short-term gain. You see those students over there fading, and you go over and get stoned with them. You'll probably get high and have fun. But you're risking long-term pain, because you're teaching your brain to need these drugs to have fun. Instead, you can choose to train your brain for long-term gain, train your brain to have fun without needing a drug or alcohol or danger to have fun. There'll be some short-term pain, because you don't get the quick, easy high of drugs, alcohol, danger. The person who smokes or drinks or whatever, they're going to get that quick, easy high. But in the end, you gain because you didn't take the easy way. You chose to hardwire your brain to have fun, to enjoy your life with positive activities. And I'm going to stop there. Thank you.